Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Students of the Word. This is session number 110. And today we continue with the final set of verses with the big finish of paragraph 18. And we're going to get lots of usage of John's favorite preposition in these last couple sentences. But let's go back. We ended up spending sort of pretty much another session on, nope, not the last paragraph, the penultimate paragraph, on verse 18. So the 18, 19, and 20 are where the big finish begins, where the oidomens begin. The we know or we have seen, right? So let's read them through again, and then we'll go back. We know that each of the having been born ektutheu ones does not sin, but the having been begotten of God one, who is probably Jesus, protects him, keeps him, and the evil one does not touch him, and the poneros does not touch him. So remember, we were talking last time about that distinction, Susan. You were really helping me with this. The distinction between the gegenemenos, the perfect tense, those in the state of having been born ektutheu, and the genethes, the aorist, having been born of God, one. Now, one of the things, and I agree, I am perfectly willing to believe that by this fine distinction that he's making between these two verb tenses, between the perfect and the aorist, he is meaning to describe by the perfect those, he who is in the state of this, being us, like we have been brought into the state of having been born of God, as opposed to the one who was born of God at that time, back then, on that particular occasion, that particular having been born of God event, being a reference to Jesus and to the incarnation, and possibly in a sense to the crucifixion as well. That makes sense. I can buy that. One thing I would want to not pass by, though, without commenting on again, is how subtle that difference is. Right? How close. We and Jesus are both having been born of God. It's just a very fine distinction of tense between the two of us. Like that he would speak to us again. Notice the addition, the one having been begotten, is like that one there in brackets. It's in brackets because it's been added. In the Greek, it's not there at all. We just have the same construction, ho gegenemenos, ho genethes. The only difference is the tense. Ektutheu, ektutheu. Like the phrases are exactly the same in all constructions except for the tense of the verb. And so, yeah, and I agree, Susan. Susan is pointing out that the distinction here is one of Jesus being the firstborn. Yes, agreed. Anyway, but as I say, I don't want to miss the very, very close parallelism that he is holding these things in. There is a parallelism that comes this close to identity between the two, because you could make the argument that they're talking about the same thing. You could. I mean, again, I hear and agree with the argument that in one place he's talking about Jesus and the other place he's talking about us. The point is, you've got to squint real hard to notice the difference between those two things. And I think that's part of John's point. Yes, Jesus is the firstborn. But the reason that each of the having been born of God ones does not sin is because we're almost indistinguishable from Jesus. Like we have been joined with Jesus. Like Jesus, we have been born of God. Um, and the life of the age that is in him is in us. Um, yeah, interesting. Randall points out that the manuscripts, remember he was saying last week that some manuscripts have cleaned up the potential confusion. Here again, it's so confusing, or it's so subtle that it confused some of the scribes, it would seem, and that they changed him auton here, which seemed uncertain and indefinite, because if those two are the same thing, then why him? Who's him? They changed it to himself, because then that clears everything up, as we were discussing at the beginning of last time. And Randall points out that the manuscripts that change him to himself to make that reflexive, the guarding, the terai himself, takes both of these as talking about us. They assume that neither one of these is Jesus. And again, that's my point. They're so close that you could go either way. They're both Jesus. They're both us. One is us and one is Jesus. It is a very, very subtle distinction that is going on here. And Stephen, yes, the interlinear is again trying to be helpful in a way that I generally reject as helpful. Continues to sin. That's an interpretation. This word is just present indicative active. It's just sins. It's just sins. This, by the way, I think I've said this before, but this is one of the things that I most respect about English. English has many wonderful features. My favorite feature, I think, of English is the present progressive tense. We have a clear way in English of distinguishing between I do that thing all the time and I am doing it right now at the moment. The difference between I run and I am running. Most languages don't have that distinction. And so you can't tell what they mean. They just use the present tense, and it could mean I'm doing that action right now. And it could mean it's a thing that I do all the time these days in the present. And so it's unclear. So the interlinear is here making the interpretive step to say that it means continues to sin. But that is an interpretive step that is designed to soften that statement. This is paragraph 9 all over again, right? When John says things like, those who have been born of God do not sin, present tense, it sounds so absolute, and it seems like it excludes all of us from that category, right? And everybody gets anxious. And so people try to stretch it and make it less scary and less absolute by saying, oh no, it means like sinning continuously. Look, who does sin continuously? Like nobody sins continuously. Anyway, so what the point is that's an interpretation of what the present tense means in that case. But I'm not at all sold that he's leaning specifically upon continuation there. It's just present tense. We know that each of the having been born of God ones does not sin. Does not sin. I mean, what is it? Is not sinning now? Like, how does he know? Right? If it's like, well, that verse was true 5 minutes ago, but it isn't true anymore. Right? Like, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, and again, the sense of continuation, like, can the present tense be used in that way? Sure. The present tense can be used in that way. But again, it's hard. You just have, like, you've got nothing but context to try to guess that. And often it's a guess, therefore. So anyway, since that's a very particular, like, it's a very particular turning of the present tense. Again, I'm not opposed to it completely. I'm not saying it's impossible that John meant that. But I don't think it fits. I don't think it's necessary. I think that the kind of protection that it's trying to offer to this verse is unnecessary, because he's just restating the kind of stuff he's been saying before. Each of the having been born of God ones does not sin. Remember, he's just been doing John himself has just thrown us. If we need a life preserver, If we feel like we're drowning and being excluded from the body of Christ by John's statements about sin and those who are born of God not sinning, he's just thrown us the life preserver of the sin, not towards death sin. That there is a sin that's not towards death, making that distinction. And I think that it's the hamartia pros thanaton that he's talking about down here. We know that each of the having been born of God one does not sin. The towards death sin, I believe, is what he's talking about here. So again, we've already had if we needed a life preserver, we've gotten it. We don't need to sort of monkey with the tense there. Okay. But let's keep going. On to 19. Oidamen, we know. Hoti, what do we know? Oidamen hoti, again, we start the same way. Ektutheu esmen. We are ektutheu. We're from God. Kai, and hokosmos holos. Now, holos, the whole, we're like all the world. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Now, all this took place, right? Right. Yeah. Jesus was going throughout all Galilee, throughout all Syria, for your whole body. Okay. All the body. So sometimes it can mean the entirety of a thing, like part of your body versus your whole body. Sometimes it can be speaking about like through all of Galilee, like the entire place. Sometimes, like in the first verse, it's being used quite vaguely. It's like a very vague pointer. Now, all this, like all of that stuff I've just been talking about, took place. Spread throughout all the land, right? Spread through all of the land until it was all leavened. Yeah. Okay, good. He sent word into all the district. He gains the whole world. Okay, so it's definitely not wholeness in the sense of like integrity. It seems to be wholeness just in this, it's entirety, right? The entire world, all the world. And all the world, en to panero kaitai. In the evil one lies. Now, I think we were looking at kaimai, which is the lemma, the root of the word. And we're looking at, this is something, yeah, right. When you're putting something down, usually you put down a thing and it's sitting there. Jesus's body in the tomb, the axe at the root of the tree, goods in the barn. But it can also mean it be in the sense of appointed for, like put for a particular, set for a particular, put or set for a particular reason. Right, the 6 water pots in John are set there. The linen wrappings are lying there. So all of these things, though the tendency is, it's the transitive version of lay. That is, somebody puts it down. And that I think is important here. This is the difference between lie and lay in English, right? That difference so little observed by most English speakers nowadays. Lying is intransitive, meaning it doesn't have an object. So like something's just lying there. And so when you're talking about something which is just there all by itself, like you don't know how it got there or it put itself there, you say it's lying there, right? If somebody lies down on the bed, then they're lying on the bed. Like, there they are, lying there. They put themselves there, right? But if you lay something on the bed, that is, lay is the transitive version where there's an object. You lay a thing. You lie down, right? Or a thing lies down. but you lay something else. So if you lay something on a surface, then it might be lying there, but it's not only lying there. I mean, if you just look at it by itself, it's lying there. But it's not only just lying there, it's been lain there by somebody else. And Katai seems to have um, sometimes to a lesser, sometimes to a much more significant extent, that sense of being set. And I'm thinking of the appointed for or set for, that kind of prophetic air that Katai has in some of those places. Um, and um, so, I mean, that's like very clearly, right? Like appointed for, like I put it there on purpose as a sign or whatever, right? Um, it is a fulfillment of destiny, right? So it's very much something sort of placed there. But even the sort of simple, more physical usages of kemai, um, we're talking about things that had been put there by somebody. So Jesus is resurrected. He rises from the dead, and he removes the wrapping around his head, and he lays it down, and now it lies there. It's been lain there. Um, so Jesus, a body is lain in the tomb. Jesus, the infant Jesus, is lain in a manger. Okay, why is this important? Because if we were to read lies, which is the translation, is that the translation we get here? Yes, lies in the power of the evil one. So in the NASB, we know that we are of God and that the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. It just sounds like it's just there. There it is, right? Like, but the thing was lying on the floor. The whole world is lying in the power of the evil one. Like, the power of the evil one is there. The whole world just happens to be lying in it, right? But that's very different from saying, if we were to translate this with one of the other ways to translate kemai, and say the whole world is set in the power of the evil one, that sounds quite different, doesn't it? We know that we are ektutheu, and the whole world is lain in the power, is lain in the evil one. Not even the power. I added that because I just read that in the translation. It doesn't say anything about power. It just says in the evil one. Come on, man. Where are we adding stuff? Because they want to clarify. They think it's not clear. Well, as we've said, clarity, not John's number one goal. Oh, that's interesting, Stephen. Stephen was pointing out that when Caesar Augustus proclaims that the whole world shall be taxed at the beginning of Luke 2, it's not cosmos holos. What's the adjective? Out of curiosity, Stephen. Um, Well, hang on. Let's, you know what? We have the technology. Let's look it up. Let's go to Luke. Okay. Because it's at the very beginning, so it's easy to find. When a decree from Kaiseros Augusto to register Passan 10 oikumenen. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Oikumenen? Is that like from to looks like the word to see. Okay. The inhabited earth. The kingdoms of the world is coming on the earth. So this is much more about like the land, like across the land. It is hard to register uninhabited areas. Susan, I agree. Okay. So he's where'd we go? Pasan. Pasan. Pas, huh? Wait, that's each. Isn't that our each word? Yes, I know this word. We just had this. Each of the having been born of God ones. Paso. Interesting. To register to register like each the world. What a fascinating little idiom that is. But but I think this is potentially instructive. Um, if oikumenen is the word for ooh, ooh. Okay, now I'm curious. Hang on, let's see. Um, can I get to no, that's not what I wanted. Where can I get to? Oh, I'm forgetting. Let's see. I'll look at Genesis 1. I want to go aparques. Uh now where's the there it is, the LXX. Okay. Aparque. Yep. NRK. Uranon, that's heavens. And the oh, gain. Okay, earth. That's what I wanted to see what earth was when God created the heavens and the earth. And the gain, gay. Yeah, it's Gaia. It's from Gaia, Earth. Okay, got it. Well, that's interesting. Okay. All right. I'm pulling myself out of this rabbit hole. But I'm glad we went down it briefly. I'm glad we peeked down it, I should say. Um, Stephen, because it brings us back to cosmos. And there's good reason to think that when John talks about the cosmos, whether it's here or, in John 3, for God so loved the cosmos, um, that when John talks about the cosmos, he's not talking about the planet, nor is he talking about the land. He's talking about the people collectively, like all the people. Even the use of the the pos suggests that to me because it's singular. Anyway, like each of the world, like each of the people who live in the world, like it's a Caesar Augustus is sending out a decree, and each of the individual people who live in the land, well, i.e., the Roman land, the Roman Empire, has to obey this thing individually. Like it's not a collective thing. It seems collective, but it's not collective. It's just individual at scale, right? Everybody has to do it. Um, so, whereas the cosmos is more collective, um, I see the the oikomen, that land word for world in Luke 2. Randall said, I missed this before, Randall. It's it's connected to the word oikos, which means house or habitation. Um, so Randall says it's almost that phrase is almost like each house, each habitation. Yeah, yeah. So it may rather than saying The whole country has to do it because the whole country doesn't do it. Each household in the country has to do it. Um, yeah, yeah. Anyway, okay. But again, the point here, I'm not getting going too far down there. The point is the contrast between that and cosmos. Cosmos seems to be collectively the people. We are of God, and the whole cosmos. By the way, this is the other way in which holos fits. Remember, holos can mean all, but it can also mean whole, like your whole body. And if cosmos is this a kind of a collective word, unlike the other words we were just looking at, um, then holos, whole, like like your whole body, makes sense. The whole, it's not just like part of the world is set in the evil one. The whole thing, all of them, everyone, all the world, the entire world, the entire cosmos is set, has been placed, has been put down in en to ponero. Now, notice the distinct lack of parallelism in this sentence, because that strikes me as really important. He could have said, we know that we are en Theou. We know that we are in God, and the whole world has been set in the evil one. Right? Whole world in the evil one over here. Us in God over here. And remember, from way back in paragraph 6, we saw the opposition between God and the world. So that's no surprise. But he doesn't use the same preposition on both sides. This is not a, we are in God, but they, the people in the world, are in the evil one. It's not parallel. It's not balanced in that way. We are from God. We're out of God. Ek to Theou, that classic phrase, with its implications of parentage, with its implications, even potentially of like emerging from, and therefore potentially even the implication of being sent from. We are of God. We are from God. On the one hand, it's us from God, and the entire cosmos, the entire world, is in the evil one. And again, it would have been more balanced for him to use the linking verb the second time too. He could have just said is, and the whole world is in the evil one. He just used the linking verb for us. We are ek to Theou. The world is en to ponero. Would have been a different preposition, but still would be balanced. But the verb is unbalanced too. We are from God. It's just who we are. It's just an identity. Remember that linking verb just links the two ideas. You've got us and you've got from God. And he's just putting those two things together. He takes the whole world and he takes in the evil one, and he doesn't just link them together. He has an action verb in there. He has someone placing, someone setting the whole world in the evil one. If the whole world is in the evil one, it's there because it was put there. Action verb. But of course, it's a passive action verb. So there's no subject present. We don't know who does the setting. It doesn't say who does the setting. It's just describing what has been set. The whole world has been set in the evil one. So I don't even think I would translate that lies. has been lain, I would say. Except it's present. Has been would be past. So is being lain, and the whole world is being lain in the evil one is placed. Yeah. But it's present tense, right? Perfect tense would suggest like is now in the state of having been placed in the evil one, and it's now in a steady state. But that present tense verb, it's passive verb, but again, passive just tells you about its relationship with the subject. It doesn't tell you anything about the tense. The tense is just present. It's something, it's happening. The setting down, the placing, the the laying of the whole world in the evil one is currently underway. And of course, the other verb, the linking verb, is present too. We are currently, at this moment, ektutheu, is being lain in the evil one. The whole world is being lain in the evil one. Huh. Yeah, it, I don't know. On the one hand, I'm a little nervous about laying too much stress on the verb there. Like as if this whole sentence is about the action of the, because like you could get all like Revelation, what is it, Revelation 20? Whichever chapter at the end of Revelation it is, when like the dragon is cast into the sea, the flaming sea and everything. You could go all Revelation on it, right? If you wanted to. I mean, if you wanted to go extreme, leaning on that verb, um, you could say the world is being put in the evil one, as if the evil one were the sea of fire and the whole world is being chucked into it. Interesting, Randall. Yeah. So Randall saying he doesn't think the active voice is used with this verb. Um, right. So they just have a different, if you want to use it in the active, um, like if you're, say, a brandy buck who says, I lay my sword at your feet. You wouldn't just, you wouldn't use this verb at all. You wouldn't use it in the active voice. You just use a different verb instead. Um, yeah, right. And he says that Randall says the form is the same, whether it means lies or is placed. That is, whether any attention is being drawn to the one doing the action or not. The form is the same. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Tith Tithemy would be the active lay. Right. So there is a different verb, or at least a different form that would mean the active form. Yeah. It's interesting. Again, I just notice because once again, in English, we have the same issue, right? That is to say, like, if I if I set, the groceries on the counter, that's me doing the action. I am placing them there. I am lying them there. I'm laying them there. I'm not lying them there. I'm laying them there. See, it's easy to make that mistake. It's the weakness is that the forms are so similar. They're genuinely difficult to keep straight, even if you know the difference. I'm laying them on the counter. But of course, so I lay the groceries on the counter. Then I leave the room and my son comes into the room and he looks at the counter and what does he say? Well, there's these groceries lying here. So the thing that you laid down, as soon as you lay it down, it's lying, right? Um, yes, and of course, the maximally confusing thing I agree is that the past tense of lie is lay. Yes, exactly, exactly. Um, the thing that interested me about the examples, like the usage of it in the New Testament, of kemai in the New Testament, is that in very many of these, we like there is the memory, if you see what I mean by memory, the memory of somebody doing the lying or the laying. Darn it. Um, let me explain what I mean. Back to my groceries example, right? It is true that my son might come into the room and say, "Oh, there's these groceries lying here," but when he sees groceries on the counter, he's going to know somebody put them there. They didn't just get there by themselves, right? They were laid there by somebody. Um, and he, and that's that sense of, I see them, and on the one hand, it's just a thing lying there, but at the same time, somebody put it there. And what's more, in context, it's kind of important that that happened, right? So, like Jesus's grave clothes, for instance. Well, they're just lying there, but it's kind of important that somebody laid them there, actually, right? They are evidence that Jesus put them there after he rose from the dead. The baby is lying in a manger, but he was laying in a manger, right? He didn't just appear in a manger. And the moment, right, of putting him in the manger is an important moment in the story. Um, Again, the emphasis, the prophetic use, right? The like the one that we were looking at in what is this, Simeon's prophecy? Um, yes, Simeon says to Mary, "Behold, this child is ketai for the falling and rising up of many in Israel." Is set. He's been put here for that purpose, to achieve that end, that purpose. Um, but I agree, Susan, that in both cases, what it has in common is that it's the final state, that it's not necessarily insisting on a present action, even though it is the present tense. I still think it implies that if the whole world lies in the evil one, it was put there. There's a reason for it. But we don't necessarily have to, in our mind, hear this as insisting on the fact that, like, and now, even now, my brethren, the world is being placed within the evil one, right? That I I think strains it too much, perhaps. Anyway, so back to the non-parallelism. Oidamen hoti. We know that A, we are ectu theou. B, all of the world has been placed in the evil one, is placed in the evil one. And yes, Stephen, I do think that that's important. Even if the stress, even if the stress isn't on the placing in the present moment, that the moment of the placing has come, even if we're not going that as far as that, Stephen says, doesn't it suggest that the evil one? It doesn't suggest that the evil one is the source. Being there is not the world's natural, original, or intended state. No, I agree. That's exactly what seems to me so significant about that. It wasn't the evil one that absorbed the whole world. The world was set, was placed, is placed in the evil one. And this perhaps helps to explain how the world carries on during the rest of John. You know, hating us, not understanding us because they didn't understand Jesus, not listening, though the world might listen to listen to the false prophets, but not hearing the words of God, the ek tou theou words. So yes, we've seen many times when he's done the parallel structures that are like the Hebrew poetry thing, right? The restatement of an idea. This is two separate things. We know these two facts. We are ek tou theou. The whole world is placed in the evil one. And presumably the same agency lies behind both. God has made us to be ek tou theou. He has made us to be born of him with some complicated tenses and things. He has made us to be being born of him in a state where we have been born of him. God did that. And I think he also did the setting of the whole world in the evil one, too. So let's go on and look at the third thing that we see. Or we know, rather. We have seen. Oidamen de hoti. So before we go any further, this tells us, you feel the momentum? We get the third repetition of oidamen hoti. Oidamen hoti. Oidamen hoti. Oidamen de hoti. This tells us that this is the last one, right? It's the repetition of the pattern, but the breaking of the pattern to show this one is special. This is the end. So let's talk about day, which is translated now here, and it's not translated now. And we know that the Son of God has come. It's not translated at all, is it? And we know that the Son of God has come? No. The NASB just skips it entire. With and maybe? And we know? Yeah. Okay. Okay. See, it was so subtle. I missed it, though it was right there. And we know. But yes, so you see how they're trying to replicate the sense of the pacing, right? We know, and we know to indicate this is the last one. Okay, so day is a conjunction. Also, oh my goodness, it's in the entire, look at this. We're not even going to get out of John or Matthew 1. We're not. Holy cow. The conjunction in every part of Matthew's genealogy uses day. Oh my goodness. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas, and Judas begat. So it's just day. Okay. So now what's the difference between day and Kai? That's my question next. Because we just had Kai. We've had Kai a lot. Kai tends to be I've noticed that he uses Kai either like this in the middle of a sentence to join two ideas, or he'll introduce a sentence with it if he wants to link it back to what came before. So is day something that you would use more for like items in a series, for instance? Like Matthew is in the genealogy, this and this and this and this and this? Or is there, I mean, you can't tell because it's all in the chronology, but there could be a time element of it. And then, and then, like this happened, and that happened, and then that happened, and then that, and then that happened. So there could be a time function, but we need to get out of Matthew 1 in order to understand if that's a thing. 28, 2,810. Are we even on this page going to get out of Matthew 1? Hooray, we're in 2. Right, so it can mean but also. That's really interesting. I'm interested in how it's being translated. Sometimes and, sometimes but, sometimes so, sometimes now. So Joseph got up. Now in those days. Now John himself, yeah, I too find translations are very loose with the conjunctions, which is why I'm trying to look at the patterns instead of just because, yeah. So whether or not it's a it's an and or a but is got to be mostly contextual. Yeah. But the way it gets used at the beginning of stories, it's this particular now translation, the starting a sentence or a paragraph with now. Now, when Jesus heard, now John himself, now in those days, and again, my point, the point is not the translation. The point is like that usage. Conjunctions are always more fun when they're not just used between two things, right? Conjunctions are designed to connect things. They're connector words. And so seeing how it's used like at the start, I think there might be some kind of it's a connector, but instead of just like being a logical connector, it's it's saying like this happens next. The next thing, the next speech, and I say to you, right? Jesus is saying that in the Sermon on the Mount, right? You've heard it say, do not kill. And I say to you, he's using day there. And there clearly is a but sense to that. There's an opposition, right? But he's not doing that. He's not insisting on the negative. He's just saying, you've heard this, and now I'm telling you this. Look at this tendency to use the word moreover. the English word moreover, that also implies a kind of a process? Moreover, I say to you, adding on to what I just said. That's what I think they're grasping at. That's the sense that I think they're grasping at when they're using moreover, which INT. Is that the NIV? What's the INT? Oh, the interlinear. What the interlinear is doing is it's 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 using moreover as a go-to there. And when you pray. Now, when you pray, don't use vain repetitions. And if you forgive, look at how much Jesus is using it constantly in the Sermon on the Mount. And when you fast, now, when you fast, yeah, it's like, right, Randall says if it's important to be unambiguous or specific, one can use kai for and Allah for but. Right. Allah is the like unquestionable, this is an opposition. It's the strong but. Kai, again, what I've been saying, like where we've seen kai used a lot is just to join two things like logically, right? There's this clause and there's this clause. Now think about these two things together. But the day does seem to be, and another thing, and the next thing, and moreover. And now it's more of a narrative word in this way. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. I'm saying this, and now I'm saying this, and now I'm saying this. I said this, and then you did that, and then that made me say that, and then I saw this, and then you said that, and we're saying duh, 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 all the day all the time. And yes, Stephen, it makes great sense that Jesus is using day in his, you have heard it say, do not murder. And I say unto you. And he doesn't want to sound like he's contradicting, as Stephen says, or undermining the previous command, just going further. You have heard it say, do not murder. Now I say unto you. Moreover, I say unto you. Right? And here's what comes next. What comes next after you hearing do not murder is me telling you, right? Don't speak to your brother in anger. Don't be angry at your brother. Okay. And seek ye first the kingdom of God. Man, how many times has Matthew used this by the end of the Sermon on the Mount? Like hundreds, or at least 100, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Kai is joining two ideas. Day is a narrative sequencing thing. And we know. So that's why it's the clear signal. That's why it's the clear signal that we've come to the end, right? And next, and now we know that the Son of God has come. So that implies not only that he's telling us this is the third and final thing. It's not just a signal that this is in fact the last sentence in the paragraph. He's also implying with the use of day there, especially day. This is one of those day at the beginning of the sentence ones, right? One of those. Now, Jesus looked among them and said kind of usages, right? So that implies that this knowing is subsequent to the other knowings. It's the thing that happens next. We know this, we know this, and we know this. It's not just a list. The next thing is oidamen hoti. We know that ho huios, the Son of God, ho huios, huios, huios tu theu, heke is come. Right, tell me about heko. Many shall come from the east. All these things shall come upon this generation, says Jesus in Matthew 23. And then the end will come. So it can be a person arriving, like people coming from the east and the west. A servant will come in that day. A slave will come in that day. But it's also about like the end coming. This is a fairly portentous coming. Even the many shall come from the east and west is portentous. Like that does not seem to be the word that you use to be like, hey, who's coming down the road? Oh, it's Bob. Bob's coming. No, it doesn't seem to be that way. Right. The prodigal son returns home, and the elder son is told, thy brother is come. The moment of his return has happened. It's a big deal. For the days will come upon you. Notice how often this word is getting used in prophecy. Jesus says to Mary at the wedding feast in Cana, my hour is not yet come. Yes. So now we do get in John 4, Jesus had come out of Judea, which on the one hand sounds much more like Bob coming down the road. But then again, I don't think that's how the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman at the well is looking at that. That's not Bob. Oh, this is a really interesting one. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one coming to me, I shall know not cast out. We got double negative, which I believe means it's twice as negative. If Greek is like the other cool languages that do that. Um, yeah, so this is interesting. This is like people coming from the east and west, but this is also portentous. This is also not exactly the fulfillment of prophecy, but it's a first cousin of the fulfillment of prophecy. Okay, so I'm looking at the John usages specifically. My hour has not yet come. Jesus had come out of Judea into Samaria. The ones that my Father has given me will come to me. I have come from God. I proceeded forth and have come from God. The deliverer will come from Zion. Oh, we're in Revelation already. Yeah. Okay. Behold, I have come. Behold, I have come. He who is coming will come and will not delay, as the Lord will come. Yeah. This is portentous. So almost all of those. The only potential exception to The portentous coming is Jesus coming from Judea into Samaria. But again, as I say, from the point of view of the Samaritan woman, that's fairly portentous also. So when he says, so heke, using that verb in the present tense is a big deal. This is a very future tense kind of word. The day shall come. And when he shall come, someday they shall come from the east and the west. Lots of future-ish emphasis there. It seemed like most of the usages of this were in the future tense. Even when Jesus says, like, God will give me some and they will come to me, that's all future tense too. Or at least a future sense. I don't know if it's actually the future tense, but it's talking about the future. But this is not future. This is present indicative action. The Son of God is come. Right now. Notice, by the way, once again, Greek suffers, as do so many languages, from not having the present progressive. In English, we would make a clear distinction between is come or is coming or does come, right? Like I come over sometimes. Do you come here often? Sure. Is come. Um, this is the fulfillment. Present tense fulfillment. The Son of God is is coming. I mean, I'm tempted to use the progressive there because he's not pointing to it in the future. He's not saying the Son of God will come. We know that the Son of God will come. He's not saying that. Nor is he saying in the past tense. We know that the Son of God did come in the aorist tense at one point. Nor is he saying, we know that the Son of God is in the state where he has come at this point. He's now in a steady state of having arrived. It's present tense. I Randall says he thinks he would expect erketai if it meant is coming. But doesn't erketai, because I remember Jesus used that in that John 6 verse I was looking at. That's still pointing to the future though, isn't it? Like is coming in the sense of like is gonna come. Like when you say is coming, but you mean they haven't come yet. Like when you say he's coming any minute now, you're still talking about the future. But if somebody is in the middle of arriving, they're coming in a different sense. The present progressive there, the English present progressive is different. Is coming. It's happening. It's in process right now. That seems to me to fit with what he's described. He's not just saying Jesus has fulfilled prophecies. Thanks. Right. He's pointing to, it's like the verse that I'm thinking of is way back in paragraph 4. On the other hand, I am writing a new commandment to you, which is true in him and in you, because the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. It's the darkness. It's not light. It's not dark. The darkness is passing away. The true light is already shining. But there's still darkness there. But the light's there. Like this sense of we are in the middle of the transition. The true light is already shining and the darkness is passing away, but it hasn't passed yet. And that seems to me the same kind of sense in which he's saying, the Son of God is coming. The true light is already shining. He's here. But it's present tense. It's ongoing. The coming is ongoing. Now is the moment of the fulfillment of prophecy, not tomorrow, not in 5 minutes, not yesterday. Right now, the promised coming of the Lord is happening. Remember his favorite preposition. We are in God and he is in us. Has he come? Oh yeah, he's come. Do we have the life of the age? We have the life of the age. We have the age-ish life. Has the age come yet? No, age hasn't come yet. But we have the age-ish life. And the Son of God is coming. Kai and he's here joining these two ideas. On the one hand, the Son of God is coming, and the Son of God, also presumably third person singular, yeah, has given us dianoian, understanding. Has given us understanding so that we may know, notice gnoskomen, gnosko, not oidamen, so that we may gnosko, and once again, our interlinear is trying to be too helpful in my personal opinion. It does not say him who is true. It's adding a whole extra clause. We can see what it says, so that we may know the true. The Son of God is coming and has given. That's past tense. That's perfect tense. He is in the state of having given us understanding so that, hina, so that, for the purpose of us knowing the true one. Not the truth. It's not a noun, it's an adjective. But there's no other words. The true. We may know the true. And we are in the true. So that we may know the true, and we are in the true, in the Son of him, Jesus Christ. This is quite a sentence. And we know, that the Son of God is coming, is in the process of coming, and has given us understanding. Let me pause here for another little word study. Dianoia. Whoa. Mind, just mind. When Jesus adds mind to all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, it's this word. Huh. In Matthew and Mark. Those who are proud in the thoughts of their heart, in the imaginations of their heart. So it's connected with cardia, here by Luke. Love the Lord your God with all your dianoia, all your mind. Ooh, and then right up to Ephesians. Ah, when Paul talks about having your understanding darkened, that's this word. Of the flesh and of the mind. So dianoia is paralleled with flesh. Right. In Hebrews, writing his law in their minds, in their understanding. Okay. So, right, it overlaps with cardia, heart. Um, right. So when you're actually talking about your mind, the thing that thinks, we would say your brain, but they didn't know too much about the brain. So they didn't really, like in Hebrew, there's not a word for brain. Um, they would say heart, cardia, or nous, mind. Nous is like more abstract, right? Like you're thinking, if I remember correctly. I've encountered nous in other contexts, though let me just begin by admitting that the context in which I have encountered nous is in the 12th century Neoplatonic medieval authors. And so, and they were pretty weird, man. Those were some strange, strange people. But anyway, um, right. Yeah. Heart is like the inward person and nous like the mental faculties, right? Mental faculties. That's just what I was thinking of. Like your ability to think, your thinking apparatus, your mental processing unit, right? Whereas the heart, it pretty much means your mind also. But yeah, the inward person. But dianoia, translated mind, means understanding. It's not talking about your heart. It's not talking about your brain. It's not talking about the mechanics. Dianoia is talking about your understanding, your I don't know what, like worldview, like how you right, dia. Right, of course. Taking it apart. Dia and nous. Dia is the through by means of. Right. That body of propositions which you arrive at by means of your brain, by means of your nous, by means of your thinking. Right. So it's an abstraction that refers to how you think of the world, how you understand the world working, something like that. I didn't even notice the nous element in Noia there. Yeah. Yeah. By means of the mind. I mean, roughly. By means of the brain. Through the brain. The output of the brain. The output of your thinking. The heart is more personal. The heart is about you and who you are. Your dianoia is what you've learned, what you've put together, the picture you've assembled. And so Jesus is saying, let's actually look at what Jesus is saying. Might as well. Okay. And we start with duh. Now, he said to him, you shall love in the future. You will love the Lord, the God of you, In, not with, in hole, all. There's a holistic word again, like holos, cosmos. In all your cardia, in all your cardia, and in all your psyche, your soul is such a difficult word. Um, is psyche, is that the Greek word that they use to translate nephesh from Hebrew? It's like your person, your life, what makes you you. And in hole, right, something like self. And in hole, your dianoia. So you're going to agape the Lord your God, in all of your cardia. So they're already using mind, like in all of you, it's not nous, but it's your cardia, your inner person, and in your psyche. So in your heart, in yourself, and in your dianoia, in your understanding. That triad is fascinating. Of those three things, cardia, psyche, and dianoia, dianoia seems like the least personal of the three. Like your heart is your inner thoughts and feelings. Your psyche is yourself, the thing without which you're not you. And then your dianoia, like that he pairs that with those other two is super interesting. I can understand why they translate it mind, but I don't love it. Because he doesn't say nous. That would be if Jesus were just trying to say in your feelings, but also in your rational apparatus, he would say nous, presumably. But he's not talking about the rational apparatus, he's not talking about the apparatus by which you reason. He's talking about the things you know, the things you believe, the product of that apparatus of reason. But he brings it up in a way that makes it sound like it's real personal, like it defines you, like your psyche and your cardiac kind of do. Hmm. That's really interesting. Okay. He has shown strength with the arm of him. He has scattered diaspora. This is the word diaspora comes from. He has scattered the proud. Dative. Dianoia in dianoia cardias auton. Whoa. In the thoughts of the heart of them. That is, those who are proud, whose thoughts are proud. The thoughts in their heart are proud thoughts. I'm not going to worry about the exact like context in what he's saying here. I'm just trying dianoia here because the relationship with cardia is clear. This is the dianoia. The cardia is genitive, so it's the dianoia of the cardia. Randall, that's interesting. Randall says one lexicon he looked at had something like disposition of the mind. Yeah, that's what I was kind of reaching for when I said worldview before. Like worldview is a weird word. It's a would be a bad translation, but it's that kind of like again, like you understand how the world works. Like you know stuff. You know how to process the world around you. Why? Well, because you've built up a dianoia. You've built up a way of understanding things. Yeah. Your dianoia is something that can be of your heart. It can be something your heart possesses, as in this case. Perspective, something like that. Perspective isn't a great word either, but again, this is why I'm so thankful I'm not a translator. Because if I were a translator, I'd have to choose, but I don't have to choose because I'm not a translator. Um, let's look at Paul's reasoning here. This is a little perilous, but okay. In whom also we all once lived in the desires, epithumias, we've seen those before, in the desires of the sarkos, of the flesh of us, doing the thelemata. Hey, we had that recently. The will, doing the will of the flesh and of its dianoia. Now, the flesh can have a dianoian too, according to Paul. And we were techna, we were kids by nature, kids of wrath by nature. Okay. But that's the key there. So the heart can have a dianoia, the flesh can have a dianoia. That's really interesting. Yeah, it's like point of view, perspective, worldview, way of understanding things, framework, like framework in which you understand stuff. And honestly, it's almost like the way that postmoderns like talking about subjectivism, right? You have your own subjective way of viewing the world. Well, that's your dianoia. Huh. Okay, that's fascinating. Really cool stuff there. Okay, so now back to okay, and now we know next we know that the Son of God is coming, and has given dedoken. That's our generic bestow upon as a gift, and has given us, that is the Son of God, has given to us dianoia, understanding, singular. Oh, with Paul, it was plural with Paul. The dianoia, the understandings of the flesh. Yeah, that is interesting. Kind of hold off on that till we get to Paul, however. But yes, okay. Right. Oh, yeah. So look at the significance of that here. If our dianoia is our, see, like it's If you just say understanding, it can sound like, oh, I get that now. So to give somebody understanding, like you could say, like, I taught this person about this thing, and by doing so, I gave them understanding. So now they get it, right? Whatever it is. But that I think is not what we're talking about here at all. If dianoia is in the triad with psyche and cardia, heart and soul, then and if it's being given, if the dianoia is being given to us by the Son of God. So the Son of God is coming. He's doing two things. He's coming. So he's arriving. And he has given us a dianoia, a way of looking at things, a new framework, a new point of view, perspective, way of seeing the world. We have been made anew. We've been born again. Must be what happens when you're born ek tou theou. You're given a new dianoia. Probably has something to do with why you don't hamartia anymore. It may even be related to moving out of death and into life. It's probably also why the world hates us and doesn't understand, because they don't have this dianoia. Now, come back to worldview. It's an awkward word. I'm not suggesting it as a translation, just the whole framework of the way we see the world is changed. He's given us a new one. And it's connected with his coming. Coming in the present tense has given us a new worldview, has given us a worldview. In the past tense. So that he's done both of these things, or at least the last one. Do you think Hina? I think Hina is both of those things. The Son of God has done this and that, so that, like, those two things are happening or have happened, so combined, the coming and the giving us a dianoia is for the purpose of us gnoskoing the true one. And we are in the true one. In his Son, Jesus Christ. Gnosko, coming to know. Is that the more experiential? Oidamen? No, it means we have seen. I feel clearer on oidamen. These words I've been wrestling with through the whole epistle. They're familiar from way at the beginning, and yet I feel like I'm still not really understanding the distinction between oidamen and gnosko, other than thinking that it has to be important. But I'll tell you what. Let's resume there next time. We will pick up with hina gnoskomen, and then see what we can do with the entire rest of that sentence, and then the next sentence. Houtos estin ho alathinos. That one is the true. Is the true God. Oh, true has a noun this time. The true God and the agish life. All right. Okay. We'll see if we can do that next time. Whoo-wee. The big conclusion is pretty cool. I'm learning a lot. Thank you guys so much for all that you helped me learn today. This has been really illuminating. Maybe I don't know if we'll finish 18 next time. We may get through the end of 18, but then I'm probably going to, this is a long old paragraph, so I might want to go back and look at the whole thing and make sure we're really seeing the shape of the whole thing together and how all of the parts of it fit together. So probably a couple more sessions on paragraph 18, and then we'll transition to the last big paragraph, the really short one. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.